Hello and welcome to For Fox's Sake. My name is Rob Hayes. Alongside me for this show, the final show of 2025, is Andy Moore. And we're going to be with you for the next half an hour or so, looking back at Leicester's winning end to the year with the 2-1 victory in the East Midlands derby against Derby, and having a brief look ahead to how 2026 is going to kick off with the Sheffield United game on New Year's Day. Now, because it is about to be a new year, you are about to have a brand new For Fox's Sake. For Fox's Sake.news, the website is going live on the 1st of January. If you get yourself along to For Fox's Sake.news right now, you can put your email address in, register your early interest. That will qualify you for a discount to our brand new subscription website. For Fox's Sake.news, get your email address in there. Why would you not? There's so much stuff on there that mostly Andy and I have been working on over the last month or two. But there's also contributions from the weird and wonderful mind of Pete Selby and from Lily Saunders, our host of the For Fox's Sake, the women's football show as well. Loads of stuff, some history, some nostalgia, some quizzing for you to do, some news articles, plenty of opinion on there. For Fox's Sake.news, going live on the 1st of January. This is our last show, as For Fox's Sake currently is. 2026 is a new year. Andy Moore's with me. Andy, let's get straight into it then with the game against Derby yesterday. I said in my preview on For Fox's Sake.news that one of my question marks, one of the 5 things I was looking out for in the game was, what was the atmosphere going to be like? What was the attendance going to be like? What was the feeling amongst those people who did bother to attend? What did you make of it in terms of a turnout and in terms of an atmosphere around the game?
I think because it was an East Midlands derby, it was always going to be generally full. I think if you'd have got a generic, so if QPR would have fell on that day, or a Watford or a Charlton, I'm not sure you'd have got the crowd that you did. But from what I could see, I mean, 5 minutes before the start of the match, I was a little bit worried that the crowd would show up as being quite small, but it seemed quite full to me. So, and there was a decent atmosphere. I think it was evident from the start that the guys were there to play. They might not have been doing what they could, kind of thing, what their quality suggested they could, but the commitment and the attitude was spot on, I think, throughout on the whole. It was one of those war of attrition matches, I think. I think the fans responded because they could see that the effort was getting put in, and thankfully we got the result.
It was almost fortunate in a way then that it was Derby yesterday, because the previous show that we had, and I'm sure we're not alone as Leicester fans, was quite a negative one. There was a lot of conversation, as there has been for a little while now, around the job security of the manager, Marty Cifuentes. So I totally agree with you. You probably lose 3, 4, maybe even 5,000 fans if that's not a game that means a little bit more than some of the others in the championship season. And that probably or could potentially have affected the outcome of the game, because Leicester fans were a bit down in the dumps. The last 2 performances were not great, two defeats in a row, but actually it being Derby gave the Leicester fans something to get up for, when I think a lot of them might have turned up a little bit more begrudgingly than maybe they would have in the past. So yeah, and I totally agree with you. The performance on the pitch, whilst it didn't possess the quality that we would be hoping to see from this Leicester side, it was apparent, very apparent, that they wanted to work hard for it. Now, we heard that was going to be the case in the Watford game off the back of the QPR drubbing. Didn't really see that, but they looked up for it. And were you as surprised as I was to see virtually an unchanged starting lineup? Obviously, apart from the rotation in right back, Ricardo and Hamza Chowdhury, that's been fairly consistent throughout the season. But the rest of the other 10 players were the same just 3 days after the Boxing Day game. Were you surprised by that?
No, I wasn't to a degree. Just because I think overall that is probably our best side to start the game with, and I think he probably needs them as much as he needs them at the minute. I think bringing the subs on quite early and getting through the, I think all the subs were on by 68th minute, I think it was. I think that showed you that we've been in a lot of games recently, and some of the guys looked tired, and that fresh impetus of youth that came on did as well. So I wasn't surprised that we went the same, other than the usual Pereira Chowdhury swap that we get quite often. Because I still think, and people talk about Jordan Ayew up front, he's never going to be the goal scorer that we all want, but he does a job on the whole, although I think he was quite poor yesterday. Out of all of them, I think he was probably one of the worst on the pitch. But on the whole, I do think that is our best 11 that we've got available to us at the moment. So I wasn't surprised at all to see that side. People are clamouring for, obviously, the youth to come in, and they did their job. But I do agree. I listened to Marty on Radio Leicester afterwards, and I do agree that there's got to be some, whilst you want to give them minutes and they're getting longer and longer, and they are going to be important, this youth side that are coming through, I think we need to be aware that it's not always going to go as well as it probably did last night with it. They are probably a bit sometimes under strength. They haven't got the strength that some of them have got. So I do worry when all of them are on the pitch that we are going to lose that battle that we really need right now. So, yeah, I'm quite happy with him starting who he did start. And I'm quite happy for the guys to come on, the youth to come on and play longer minutes. I was quite happy for them to come on the whole before the 70th minute.
Yeah, we're in a bit of a difficult situation because there's a few senior players injured, not a huge injury list, but a few missing, particularly Yannick Vestergaard, key player in that regard. You know, Samari, whether you like him or not, is unavailable at the moment. Winks is sort of on the sidelines, training with whoever, if he even is training, who knows. You know, so there's quite a few senior players or experienced players out, and Leicester are in a bit of a tough, well, they've been in a tough situation all season, haven't we, where we're desperately trying to find some kind of consistency. And the youth players, if you start dropping in 2, 3, maybe even 4 from the start, you are running the risk of them having a tough afternoon or a tough evening, and maybe not necessarily letting themselves down, but they're not necessarily the solution from the start. You've got to put in your strongest lineup from the beginning, hope that they can put you in a position like they did last night against Derby, and then have the youth players to come on. I thought they came on with great energy. I tell you who I was really, really impressed with, because, you know, whether he would have had to have played the full 90 if Ramsey hadn't had to go off, I don't know. But Steffi Mavididi, literally last minute stoppage time, I saw him sprint back when we'd lost the ball in the Derby half, sprint back to challenge a man, basically on the halfway line. Now, if you're asking me who was least likely in the team to be doing that at that stage of the game, it probably would be him. So, you know, if you're sort of flair player like Mavididi is willing to put in that much graft, and at that stage of the game, it can only be a positive, really, because you're so used to Mavididi, his main impact on the game being, has he created something? Has he won a free kick that's led to a set piece opportunity? Is he got on the score sheet a couple of times this season? But actually, that defensive work was more impressive to me than seeing him do something at the other end, because it shows, you know, we're looking at it and going, is the inconsistency down to the players just sort of coasting for one reason or another? Is it down to the fact that they don't necessarily buy into the manager or his style of football? But regardless of the lack of quality last night against Derby, someone like Mavididi busting his gut in the 93rd minute to get back to halfway to prevent a quick turnover, a quick counter-attack, speaks volumes to me that Leicester are actually up for this.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mavididi yesterday, I did fear him. I think the last 5 or 6 minutes, he did look really tired. He looked the most tired out of everybody. But then when he does that in the 90-odd minutes kind of thing, like, it does show that they do have that desire and want to probably play for Marty. I mean, he's not coming out as an ogre or anything like that, is he? I think he's quite well liked. Whether he's out of his depth or not is another question. I'm not quite sure at the minute. But I think that desire is there, that they want to work for him, and there are plenty of them that want to work for him. There are some that don't, obviously, and they've obviously been jettisoned, but there are plenty that do want to work. And that desire is there. I mean, I felt all the way through the match, the desire was there. I felt for the first time that they actually put a graft in for 90 minutes. Like you say, it wasn't pretty at times. But I didn't really fear Derby either. They were huffing and puffing, but that second half, but they didn't really create anything. I think we had the best chance. That Zetterholm saved that header that was going to be a flying own goal, I think it was. But other than that, yeah, I think we were strong. We put that desire in. The kids, like I said, they did a really, really good job. They huffled and puffed all the way around, kind of thing. And that's what you want to see. I mean, I was impressed with Silko when he came on. I think he playing that up. They did exactly what we said we wanted them to do: take Ayew off and put him up front, kind of thing, and let him run at them and things like that. And he did his job. And Louis Page did his job, and Monga did his job. And it's good to see that they want to do that kind of thing. And they've got guys like Mavididi and Fatawu and all that they can take that pride from, kind of thing, that they do the same thing. So they have got a lot of good people in there that can do a job, and it just needs to be about them getting it all together at the same time. And I think we can have a run at some point, but we got to get it all right between us. And I don't think they're not there yet, and I don't think they're near at the minute either. But we can grind out results when we need to.
Yeah, this has to be the blueprint, really, for how Leicester can navigate the rest of the season, because, as we've said a couple of times already, and not trying to be negative about it whatsoever, but it wasn't a performance full of quality, but what it was is a performance full of mostly well-organised midfield and defensive performances, mostly a lot of hard work and a lot of graft from all of the players. But then surely if you build that as your foundation, and that's what you have to start with, then we know that on their day, on our team sheet, we have got some of the best players in this division, and that's where the goals came from. So if you can make sure that across the pitch everything's reasonably tight, reasonably solid, and everybody's winning their battles, and everybody's doing their jobs, and everybody's putting in a shift, then you can begin to rely on the individual quality of players like Fatawu for the assist. Now, Deco-Reid, 4 goals in his last 6 games. He's been really, really important for Leicester this month in particular. Fatawu he was doubled up on, drags it on the outside, gets himself to the byline, and he's virtually unstoppable when he does that. The second, the Jordan James goal I really liked as well, because Luke Thomas didn't just smash that ball forward because he was under pressure or because he panicked. It was I think more measured than he maybe have got credit for. Yeah, he's seen the opportunity. Yes, he's hit it first time, and yes, it's a long ball, and we're all like, hang on, we're Leicester, we're not seeing a long ball at the King Power Stadium for years now. But and again, I said in my previewing for foxsake.news that and I said on the podcast as well, that Derby play with 3 centre-backs usually. That it was a little bit more fluid than last night than it was in the beginning of December. Their rigidity kind of meant that they came unstuck against us last time. That's how we got in down the sides. But the centre-back doesn't want to be pulled out there, and the wing-back doesn't want to be that deep. So Thomas has put it in there, and it so happened that it was actually one of their lightweight midfielders in Thompson that was chasing back. And then, Jordan James, willing runner. Skip made a lot of forward runs from midfield. Fatawu and Mavididi have got pace to burn down the wings. So you don't necessarily need Ayew to be Jamie Vardy and chase balls into channels, because you've got 2 runners from the centre of midfield, 2 runners from the wide positions. Deco-Reid was sort of in and out, like going in behind sometimes, but also coming in short. But that Luke Thomas ball, and then the strength and the composure from JJ. I think that's a fantastic finish. Yes, I mean, Thompson looks like you could blow him over if you wanted to. He was not exactly the world's strongest player, but then James, to keep his balance, to keep his composure, and took that side-footed on the half volley into the bottom corner. It's a real quality goal. Fatawu, real quality assist. And I guess what I'm saying is if the rest of the team can provide that platform to allow those players to show their quality, that's how we're going to get more consistent results and more like a run of results in the second half of the season.
What I wrote about it in my analysis of the game from last night. What I liked about it was that overall, I felt JJ, Abdul, and Bobby, it was probably one of their quietest games that they've had. I didn't think they were as impactful as they usually are, and I just felt that if they're making those contributions when they're not at their tip-top best, and that's understandable, they've had a lot of games that have come thick and fast at them, and they're probably tired themselves, but they made that impact, and they were the three that got the goal and the assists, and yet I didn't think they were at their best. So I think that bodes well for us as a club, that sometimes even when you're not at your best, we've still got those impactful players that can make a difference at the slightest moment. Almost not quite, but almost Jamie Vardy. Yes, sometimes he could go games without being involved, but then he'd pop up and score a goal here or there, kind of thing. Especially towards the end of his career when it was a lot more measured the way we played. But for me, it was quieter from them, but then they had that goal to be able to make the impactful moment at the right time and earn us the win, really. Because like I say, I felt the defence were brilliant last night on the whole. There are a couple of positional things here and there, and obviously their goal that they scored was a bit of a faux pas, but other than that, I thought they were brilliant as a unit. And obviously, I thought Mavadini and Skip were pretty decent as well. But the other three, like I say, Decordova Reid, Fatawu, and James, they just weren't as impactful as they usually are. Not saying that they weren't on it, kind of thing, because they were, but they just seemed to be a bit more quieter. But yeah, I was delighted that we managed to play a game of football where they are not at their best, but when the moments mattered, we got it done.
Yeah, that's ultimately what they need to do, and I think we've said particularly about James and Fatawu throughout this season so far is that they almost kind of recognise that when the team itself isn't performing so well, or some individuals aren't necessarily reaching the levels that you would want them to, those two have been the kind of top two players that have been trying to drag us through games. And at times they've maybe been guilty of trying too hard, trying too much. And maybe because they just were lacking that 5 to 10% of energy in their legs, because it's the second game in 3 days in a busy period. And they've both been heavily relied on for Leicester this season in terms of minutes. Maybe actually they didn't necessarily have the energy to put in a performance like that. So what they could actually do is almost save it for those key moments of the game. Just a quick one on Ben Nelson, because I thought he was absolutely outstanding yesterday. You've given nod there to the entire defence, and I think rightly so, largely, although we do have to caveat that with the fact that I don't think Derby are very good at football, particularly from an attacking point of view. So, it's a bit like sort of 50-50 like that. But anything that came anywhere near Leicester's defensive third virtually seemed magnetically attracted to Ben Nelson. He was in the right place every single time. I thought he was very tidy in possession. And I know he's got a good amount of championships, a good amount of experience under him in the Football League, with Oxford and stuff. He's not like someone we've just dragged straight out of the academy who's never played senior men's football before, but he is growing and growing in stature. And I think that's partly because he is being given the nod on merit at centre back at the club that he's been at since he was a kid. And why wouldn't that make you, every game that you're named on the starting lineup, why wouldn't that make you grow an inch extra? And he's becoming very much an indispensable member of the team.
Straight away, I think he's brilliant. Might sound silly, but it reminds me a little bit of a John Terry type player. Really, really important, strong, reads the game. Might not have the pace. I think that's what Okoli's there, but I've not seen him with the pace, needed the pace, to be honest. So I'm not sure whether it's there or not. But he just seemed to read the game perfectly. And I think, as many other fans have said, if he's got a Coley next to him, we know what a Coley's job is. He's a strong defender. He's not brilliant on the ball, so actually give it to Nelson, and he's been able because of that to grow himself and that confidence to be probably the second name on the team sheet. I'd put third name, probably Jordan and Abdul ahead of him. But other than that, I think he's the third key member of our team already, and that's 3 or 4 games after coming back in. So I think he's such a good defender. He's going to be a real asset for us, and it's something we need to be able to keep long term. He needs to be our central defender for the next 10 years at the club. It's one of those ones where you don't need to sell him unless he's got lots of ambitions and he becomes too good for his a Maguire or a Fofana kind of thing. But other than that, he's quality, and I think he's only going to get better. For me now, he's first choice defender for me. It's interesting what will happen, whether they bring Yannick back in when he's fit or keep Okoli, because I thought Okoli was good yesterday. He did what he needed to do. Like I said, he passed the ball to either the side of him kind of thing when he needed to. He was strong. He's got that bit of pace for him. Yeah, he's got a mistake in him. I think most of them have got a mistake in him. But yeah, I think all in all, Ben Nelson is our first choice defender now, and then we play whoever we think is best next to him.
Couple of small negatives from the game last night against Derby, and just to caveat this, if you're watching or listening back at a later date, we are less than 24 hours after the victory over Derby, so team news isn't necessarily in at this stage for the Sheffield United game, but we'll sort of segue into that. We saw Hamza Chowdhury down a couple of times in the first half, came back out for the second half, but didn't last very long. Ricardo Pereira having to come on at right back for him, and Aaron Ramsey lasting a handful of minutes, if that, before having to go off again, having recently been out with an injury for a couple of months or so. So we're talking already here when we were talking about the team selection earlier on in the show, about the squad not necessarily having a huge amount of depth, with a couple of senior players out for various reasons. Those two, we don't know the extent of the injuries at the moment. And now Ramsey wasn't starting, they're trying to ease him back in. So doesn't necessarily impact on the starting lineup initially. Neither does Chowdhury, in the sense that him and Ricardo have been very interchangeable at right back. But what that is going to do, let's say, for example, they're both unavailable on New Year's Day. That's another 2 spots on the bench that are then going to need to be filled by more inexperienced players. If Vestergaard, I guess the hope would be Vestergaard will be back fit, so he'll come in to either the starting lineup or the bench. And then probably next in line, you're looking at probably Jake Evans as the next player to make the bench. But then you're very much, that's your team and that's it. And again, we're playing, so the Derby game was the 29th, the next game's on the 1st. It's another 3-day gap. And these players already had to come off, a lot of them after an hour or so because of the leg. So we're looking at maybe a little bit thin for Sheffield United, not in terms of key first team starting players, but in terms of options, either to deal with tiredness or injuries, or to deal with slight changes in shape or changes in momentum. His hands are tied a little bit, Cifuentes, for New Year's Day.
Yeah, I think so. I think we are struggling. And I think if we're all honest as well, if we're looking at our squad as a whole, Carranza's not getting a look in kind of thing. So ideally, you'd probably send him back and try and get somebody else in who might make a difference. But you probably can't at the moment. Same with Ramsey. I mean, he showed potential when he's come into the side and all that. But if he's going to be getting quite injury prone, then again, it's, do you want that when you can go and probably get somebody else in? Can you not send them back? But what do you do? There's not a lot. I'd like to see Jake Evans on the bench, don't get me wrong, because I want to see how he goes. And we're crying out for a striker. He could possibly be it. So I'm quite happy with that way. But other than that, you are then going, are you bringing Sammy Braybuck back from Newport County, possibly? Or the other bloke at Newport, Nathan Poku, I think his name is. But again, you're short. We've got no Samari. We've got Daka's not going to be back in time for Sheffield United. He'll come obviously straight back in when for the West Brom game. But yeah, it's sure. I mean, Hamza did his knee quite early on in the first half, I think it was. I saw him go down with it and stretching it. He managed to stay on for the rest of that half and a little bit of the second half. But yeah, you knew he was not comfortable on it. You could see he was limping for the majority of that first half. So I'm hoping that might just be an impact injury and he's okay. And we definitely need Vestergaard back if he's fit. But yeah, we are thin, and obviously transfer window coming in. Are we going to be able to sign anybody? Have we got any money? Are we able to get anyone in on loan possibly? Because we are 2 or 3 injuries away from being really, really short and really, really one-dimensional in what we can play and how we can play, and then people can pick up on that because of it.
Last couple of minutes of the show then. There's quite a few of you watching along live, and if you are doing so and you fancy getting in your predictions for the Sheffield United game on New Year's Day, you've got a couple of minutes to do so, so it'd be lovely to hear from you. We'll just have a quick look at the opponents for that game. Sheffield United, they're 17th in the league at the minute on 29 points. Only 5 points behind Leicester, though, because that central area of the table is still quite congested. They beat Stoke 2-1 yesterday. Decent result. The Wrexham game was an interesting one on Boxing Day, 3-1 up to 5-3 down. I mean, they've scored a decent amount of goals this month. Patrick Bamford's in the goals. He was somebody that a lot of Leicester fans were looking at as a free agent when we realised that we had 0 capable strikers at the football club. He's proving that he knows his way around the penalty area in the Championship, absolutely. And Chris Wilder is kind of like a more aggressive version of Marty Cifuentes, if you like. We've talked about Wilder on the show before. He was the kind of profile of manager that a lot of fans would have liked to have seen come in after Ruud van Nistelrooy, and we know that he was interviewed, but ultimately the club chose to go in a different direction. But Wilder, after Boxing Day, after his side had surrendered a 3-1 lead and lost 5-3, he questioned their character, but not in a sort of nicey Cifuentes way that we need to show more character next game, but more of a have these lads got any character kind of style. And they come straight back and beat one of the better sides in the division, Stoke City, 2-1. So you know what you're going to get from a Chris Wilder side, or you know what he is going to demand from his team, but they've got a smattering of quality in there. Harmer, O'Hare, Bamford, Danny Ings might be getting on a bit, but you find him in the penalty area. He only usually needs one chance at this level. It's another tough game around the corner on New Year's Day.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be facing these on New Year's Day, the way that they've improved since Wilder's come in, put it that way. I was one that was quite keen on having Chris Wilder in as Leicester manager. I think he would have sorted the club out. He'd have knocked some heads together. And I think that's exactly what he's gone in and done at Sheffield United after their poor start. I won't really want to play in them, especially after he's questioned that character of his players as well. That's just going to fire them up because the players will know that Wilder will demand nothing less than that. He will demand a response and he'll probably get one. So it's probably the worst time in the world to play Sheffield United after, obviously, they've got the win against Stoke, which I think Stoke have dropped off in recent weeks. But yeah, going 5-3 down to Wrexham kind of thing is, after being 3-1 up, is questionable of his side. But you're right, they've got so much quality. I mean, again, another one, O'Hare was linked with us, I think 6 months before he went to Sheffield United. I'd snapped your hand off of Danny Ings at this level again. It's just something that you think, I don't want to be playing them now. They're seemingly on the up. Can we go there, get a point? I'd be happy with a point. But we saw what happened in the reverse fixture where we're 3-0 down inside whatever it was. Very few minutes kind of thing. So it's a tough game. I wouldn't be wanting this game. I was hoping for 3 points against Watford that would ease this game a little bit for us. But now we really need to go there and get something out of it.
Hello to Richard Houston, who's watching. He's agreeing with your views, Andy, on Carranza and Ramsey, in terms of send those both back and see what other options are out there. John O'Towers, regular contributor to the show, is kicking off the predictions for us. Then he says 2-2 at Bramall Lane on New Year's Day. I think a draw would be decent, echoing your thoughts there, Andy, that a point is probably not the best we can hope for, but certainly wouldn't feel like a negative start to the new calendar year. I'm going to go even more drastic than that, I reckon, because Sheffield United have been in the goals recently. I think I'll take a draw, but I'm going to one-up Jono, and I'm going to go 3-3. What about you, Andy?
I'll take a 1-1. Simple as that. I'll take the 1-1 because if we can get that draw following on from Derby and then go to West Brom come to us on the Monday kind of thing, they're up and down, just the same kind of thing. They're middle of the road side as well, I feel. And you get a win against them, again, it starts looking rosy again after that 3-game turnaround in December where we did well before a couple of losses. So I'd take a 1-1. Then we can probably look at the positives, 4 points from the last 2 games going into West Brom, and then maybe look after that. We've got the cup after that. That's going to be an even tough game kind of thing. So, yeah, I'd take the 1-1 for now.
We've got a Sheffield United fan watching along. Maury Blades vlogs saying, as a Blade, I'd take a point against your guys. You still have quality in your squad. Yeah, it's just about whether we can keep enough goals out to allow the quality to win us games or get us points. I think that's been quite an issue for us.
I think if the defence play like they did yesterday, like I say, other than a couple of the goal, obviously, which was a poor goal to give away, and then a couple of positional things, I think Luke Thomas got caught out once, possibly. If you can play like that again, and whether Vestergaard comes back in for a Coley, I don't know, then I think we could be on for a point, and that'd be a decent point because they are improving all the time, and they won't be far off the playoffs come the end of the season for me.
Clearly, I'm not back in the defence because I've gone for a 3-3, but there we are. Nobody really knows what 2026 has got in store for Leicester City. That's part of the enjoyment of the roller coaster. But what we can guarantee you is that 2026 is going to be a great year with For Fox's Sake. ForFoxSake.news launching on the 1st of January. Very happy new year to all of our watchers and viewers and listeners around the world. We hope to take you with us on our journey in 2026 at ForFoxSake.news. Happy New Year.